Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. So today we're making some Dollar Tree ornaments that look totally high end. Seriously, you're not going to believe how easy they are to make. So to start, I'm using a pack of clear ornaments from the Dollar Tree that I already had on hand. But don't worry, you can still use any kind you've got, like even the pre-painted ones. We're completely transforming them, so it really doesn't matter what they look like to begin with. So first I'm gluing the two halves together so they don't pop open later. Trust me, you'll thank yourself later for doing this part before you paint. Next, I'm painting the ornaments in a soft blue color, which will give it that frosted winter vibe. So it's just an acrylic paint from Michael's actually. So don't stress about making it super perfect. Just make sure it's fully covered because the next step is where the magic happens anyway. So this next step is actually where all the magic happens. So what you're going to do is, while the paint is still a bit tacky, you're going to sprinkle some baking soda right over the top of the ornament. So this is what gives it that gorgeous textured finish that looks way more expensive than it actually is. So I like to tap off the excess instead of rolling it in, and that way you get that natural snowy look, and it's kind of imperfect coverage, but like it looks perfectly natural. So you can do this over a little tray to catch the extra baking soda so nothing goes to waste, and you keep adding until you get the coverage that you want. And so here is the final finished ornament. How incredibly cute is this? It's simple, affordable, looks like something you'd find in a boutique. This is going to look so good on the tree or even styled in a bowl for your holiday decor. All right, guys, so this next ornament is super easy again. Seriously, you're gonna love how this one turns out and how easy it is. So we're still using those plastic Dollar Tree ornaments, and this time I'm giving it a totally different look. So I'm starting by painting it brown, but I wanted it slightly darker and a richer color, so I mixed a little bit of black into my brown. My brown paint was just a little bit too light for what I was going for. And again, these are Dollar Tree or Michael's acrylic paints, nothing special. And yes, I totally didn't wash my blue paintbrush from the last DIY, but that's on purpose because the leftover blue adds a really cool undertone that gives the ornament this aged rustic look. So you don't need perfect coverage here. Just make sure it's mostly covered because we'll be layering other textures on top. And look at my hands, guys. They're completely blue from holding the ornament from the previous ornament. So once you've got it all covered, let it dry completely. I was using my heat gun just to speed things up a little bit because I'm impatient. I run out of time and I wanted to move on to the fun part. So here is where the magic will happen. Once I get it fully covered, I go ahead and I grab some gold acrylic paint. Yep, the one from the Dollar Tree. And I dab it all over the ornament in random spots. So don't overthink it, just go with what looks good. You can use a small sponge or even a piece of paper towel to dab on to the ornament. And then we're going back to that baking soda. So while that gold is still a little bit wet, you're going to sprinkle some of that leftover baking soda from before. It doesn't need to be full coverage, just enough to give it that subtle texture. Then go back over it again with a bit more gold paint. This gives it a really beautiful high-end finish that honestly looks like something you'd buy at a fancy home decor store, like Pottery Barn or something like that. And I also then layered a little bit of that brown paint back just because I added a little bit too much gold. So again, like you just kind of dab on and off until you get the look that you are really going for. There isn't like a big rhyme or reason. Like you can see I was dabbing on and then some spots I dabbed on too much, other spots not as much, but I just kept on going. And I do think that this one might be my favorite out of all of them. I love the age distressed look. And you can even see the faint hints of blue peeking through. And it just gives it so much more character. And that's why I didn't wash that brush, was because I knew that it would kind of give that look. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And would you try this out? Or is this not one of your favorites? So again, here it is. Okay, so moving on to the third ornament, and this one is again super simple, but it really looks high end. So we're sticking with those same clear Dollar Tree ornaments, and I'm painting this one a brown and black mixture like I did the other one, and then going over top of it with some blue. You can totally stop here if you want and just have a brown look, but I think it makes it pop if you give a little bit of that blue, and it gives it like a custom designer feel, I feel, and we're also going to add more special touches. So once it all kind of dried a little bit, and not completely, just enough so it's tacky, I'm going to just dab it off, dab some of the excess paint off, add a little bit more brown, add a little bit more blue. You don't want to cover it completely. Just think of it more like a dry brushing and like a dab on, dab off, just to add a little bit of depth and that vintage patina look. And again, if you accidentally add too much, don't panic. I just dabbed mine off with a light damp paper towel and it left behind a beautiful weathered texture that honestly just looks fabulous. You can even sprinkle a tiny bit of the baking soda again if you want more of that matte ceramic style finish. And then just like before, I went in with just a touch of gold paint to highlight a few areas, so not too much. Just enough to catch the light. It gives it a luxury holiday ornament vibe without spending more than a couple dollars. So once everything dries, you can seal it if you want, or to make it last longer, just leave it matte for that soft handcrafted look. So here's how it turned out. I love the mix of blue, brown, and gold together. It feels vintage, cozy, elegant, all at once. Honestly, it's giving little designer vibes on a Dollar Tree budget. All right, so moving on to the next ornament, and this one has such a cozy neutral vibe. It honestly looks like something straight out of Pottery Barn. So for this one, I started with the same clear Dollar Tree ornaments. I spray painted them in this gorgeous heirloom white color from Rust-Oleum. You can totally use any heirloom white, cream, or shade color you have. I just love this one because it gives that soft vintage look. And once that was dry, I grabbed some jute rope and I started wrapping it around the middle of the ornament. Not the whole thing, just the center section. So I've seen this style all over Pinterest and home decor sites like Pottery Barn, and I wanted to make my own budget-friendly version. So I'm just gluing the rope as I go, making sure it's nice and secure. You don't need to overthink it. Just wrap, glue, and adjust until you like the coverage. And yes, if you spotted a little bit of blue on mine, that's because I still had some paint on my fingers from the last DIY. Also, I'm super sorry about the camera angle on this one. I had set up my desk and moved it around, and apparently I didn't do a great job framing the shot. So, we're keeping it real over here on Vesna TV. So once the jute is all glued down, I went back over the edges with a little bit of white paint, just lightly dabbing it on with paper towel to blend everything in. Then I sprinkled some baking soda on it while the paint was still tacky to give it that textured snowy finish we've been loving. And here's how it turned out. How cute is that? It's simple, neutral, and totally looks like something you'd buy at a high-end decor store or like a vintage kind of market. Let me know what you think. Okay, so moving on to the next one. And this one is so adorable, you guys. It has that whimsical little red truck in the snow vibe that I still absolutely love. For this one, I'm using one of the clear ornament containers from the Dollar Tree, along with one of the little red car village pieces and some faux snow. So first things first, we remove the tags. These ornaments are great because the bottom actually comes off, which makes it so much easier to work with. So I'm brushing some Mod Podge all around the inside edges of the container so that the snow has something to stick to. You don't need a super thick layer, just enough to coat all the little curves and edges. So next I pour some of the faux snow inside. Close it back up and give it a shake, kind of making a snow globe. This helps the snow stick to the sides and gives that perfect frosted look. So just keep doing this, and so I just keep doing this until I get the coverage that I want. And then to create a little snowy base, I glued together a few mini wood cubes from the Dollar Tree. I used 8 of them to raise my little car up a bit so it looks like it's sitting in the snow. So once they're glued together, 4 on the bottom, 4 on the top, I put a little bit of Mod Podge on the top part, and then I wind up putting a little bit more of the faux snow into the little ornament, and I close it off, give it a little shake just to cover the base ever so slightly with the snow. And once I have done that, I go ahead and I just hot glue the trailer. I didn't wind up using the truck because it didn't really fit the way that I wanted to in this little ornament. And I just do this right on top of those cubes. And I also add just one of these teeny miniature Christmas trees beside it. I got these from that village set as well. So this part gets just a tad bit finicky because the opening at the bottom of the ornament is pretty narrow. So you have to wiggle your pieces in just right and just right. Originally I wanted to use 2 trees, but it just wouldn't fit nicely. So I stuck with one, and honestly I think it does look quite perfect. So then I brushed on some Mod Podge and snow onto the wooden base again so it looks like the trailer is really sitting in a snowy scene, and shook it around. And I just really love the way this turned out. It's so whimsical and totally captures that cozy Christmas village vibe. The idea is that I would like to create a whole bunch of these to add on my Christmas tree, but when I have time. So if you have seen my tier tray decor video on my home channel, you'll recognize this one. I used it there, but you could absolutely hang it on your tree, like I'm saying. It cost me about a total of $3, and I still had tons of material left over. I didn't wind up using all the snow, even though I added just a bit more to cover that base. But anyway, here's what it turned out like. I think it's super cute, and like I said, you can use it anywhere. So next up, we're making a rustic cozy ornament using just some cardboard, some fabric, and some popsicle sticks. And this is all from the Dollar Tree. So I started with cutting a piece of cardboard into the size and shape I wanted for my ornament, so a square in my case. I actually made 2 of these, so I just traced the first one to make them match, and then I cut a piece of red buffalo plaid fabric to fit right over the cardboard. To glue it down, I used Weld Bond, but you could totally use Mod Podge or hot glue or any kind of glue, really, any kind of fabric glue. I just spread a thin layer using a scrap piece of cardboard and then pressed down firmly on the fabric. And then next I measured and cut my popsicle sticks to fit fit around the wood, fit around the edges to create a wood frame effect. I tried using weld bond again, but switched to hot glue for a quicker, stronger hold, especially since these aren't going to be handled roughly. They'll just be hanging on the tree or in a tier tray. And before gluing on all the sticks, I placed my little wood cutout sticker. I think it was from a Dollar Tree pack, but I wanted to use a star originally, but couldn't find them. So this is a classic crafter problem, right? You know you have something, but you have no idea where it is, even when you try to stay organized. So I just used what I had, and it turned out super cute. Once everything was glued, I left the wood natural because I love how it looks with the red plaid. It just gives it that cozy cabin vibe. Then for the back, I added just a small loop of jute rope for hanging, secured with another popsicle stick over top. And this just gives it a little bit of extra strength, especially if you've got kiddos like I do hanging things on the tree. Sometimes they fall, sometimes they get ripped off. So this just added a little bit of extra security. But again, that's all there is to it. Super simple, super inexpensive. Um, Here's the finished ornament just coming right up. I do love how it turns out, and it pairs perfectly with the darker ornaments that I had created in a previous video. So it'll look really great with it. And even with all of my Dollar Tree decor that I have on my tree currently, this will pair perfectly with that. And honestly, you could make a tree full of these in any shapes, any sizes that you would like, as they're basically under $2 to make them, even less actually, probably about 50 cents if you, because the fabric goes a long way, the popsicle sticks go a long way, the jute rope goes a long way, and you get a whole bunch of stickers in one pack. So let me know what you think of this one. Dollar store ornament, with the exception of this little ring from a mason jar. And that was just left over from my canning jars, and it's a little bit rusty, so I didn't want to use it on my cans. So I'm using it here. You don't have to use this. You could use any kind of ring form. It could be from just if you took some floral wire and you wrapped it around together. You could use that. You could even use pipe cleaners if you wanted. But I'm using this because usually everyone has this on hand or can easily find it. They're not very expensive, and you might be able to get them at the thrift store. To be honest with you, I never checked the thrift store at the Dollar Tree. I never actually checked in ours, and I know in the States you guys have a little bit more than we do here in Canada, so you guys may be able to get these. Let me know. So anyway, you're just taking this and one of those Dollar Tree trees, and you're cutting off the branches and just wrapping them around the canning lid. And that's about it. You could use garland if you picked it up. They didn't have any more garland when I was looking for it, so I bought this tree, and I've used it for several projects. And all you do is wrap it around. Very, very easy ornament. So once you finish wrapping it around and getting it to the fullness that you want, then you can go ahead and make it snow covered. And I'm just doing this by applying some chalked linen white paint. You could use acrylic. This is the paint I was using for a previous project, so I had it on hand, so that's what I'm using. I also, the last little stem I wrapped around, but I left a little bit at the top so I could attach an ornament hanger to it, and it looks kind of like a wreath hanger. And so I'm just making the whole wreath snow covered because I love that look. And then I'm adding some leftover berries from another project, and I'm hot gluing those to this little wreath. So you could end here and it would still look cute. You could add, there's those little garlands that you can get, like those mini garlands that you could get at the Dollar Tree, but I chose to use these little berries because I had them left over. So I'm just hot gluing them around the wreath so it looks like it's snow covered and berry covered. So another quick and inexpensive ornament that will look cute on any Christmas tree, especially if you're doing the farmhouse theme. So here it is all finished in some pretty light, and I think it turned out gorgeous. And then finally, we have our last DIY coming up, and this one is one of the easiest and probably most inexpensive ones that I've made so far. So you're starting with a pine cone. You need some green acrylic paint and either a wine cork or one of those mini birch wood stumps from the Dollar Tree. So since I didn't have the exact deep forest green that I wanted, I mixed a little bit of black paint with my leaf green to get that darker shade of green. Then I painted the whole pine cone, letting some of the natural brown peek through just for some texture and just a more, I just like the look of it better. And once it dried, I just hot glued the wood stem at the bottom of the trunk. Like I said, you could even use a cork or even a small branch if you have one at home. And then to hang it, I just tied a tiny loop of jute rope around the top. And you could use floral wire or a store-bought ornament hook, whatever you really want or have handy. And really, this is totally it for this project. It is so simple, very natural looking. And if you've got pine cones in your backyard, this one can basically be free. You can make a whole set for a couple of dollars and they look adorable on a rustic or farmhouse style tree, or even in tray decor or anything that you're looking for. So here it is. Love, love, love how it turned out. Let me know what you think and if this is something that you would use on your Christmas tree. I really like these. So these are another whole bunch that we could make. Maybe next year I'll have like a little ornament making party with my kids and we can make a whole whack load of ornaments for our tree. Let me know what you think of all of these. That's all for of today's ornaments. I made 7 different Dollar Tree DIYs that look, actually more than 7. I made a whole bunch of different Dollar Tree DIYs that look so high end but cost next to nothing. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. I honestly can't decide between the gold and brown rustic one, the little red car snow globe. I can't decide which one I love the most. And if you enjoyed these, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that way you don't miss any of my upcoming holiday decor ideas. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.